Alright, people. Inna alhamdulillah wa kafah. والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم أهلا وسهلا بكم ومرحبا وانين Leicester, bienvenidos a todos Bakhair Ragle people Khushamadid those always Swagatam sound is fixed. Alright, the sound should be okay. I'm just doing a sound check. I realized for some reason I'd set it up. I had so many tech issues today, but I realized that actually it was live streaming on YouTube for a couple of minutes. I'm going to have to get that edited. That must have been my little one having pressed go live when I hadn't quite pressed it. So let me just do a sound check, make sure is alright from Houston. Peoples. Well, first of all, if the sound is coming through fine, let me just bring that up on the... Alright, there's no point doing that. Can't really see much there. Alright, so, yep, I'll just check with the YouTube mi gente as well that they can hear everything fine. Yes, that's the comments. Okay, now, these two, my two little superstars who causing so much trouble, telling me I'm going to get a tupper. That's what. Alright. Claire, you're doing it. Go on then, Zozo. Salam bollo. Aja. Quickly, and then off you go. Go on then. This is the ritual, you see. They're waiting for me to fix this so they can say hi to everyone. What is your drink? My poison is right there, people. First contender right here. Majan. Right, okay, say assalamu alaikum. And then it's way beyond your bedtime, Majan. No, it's literally 12 o'clock. Exactly. It's not 1 a.m. Exactly. So this is the problem with these. I need to start going old school and, you know, like... Assalamu alaikum. Look at that. Assalamu alaikum. Hi, kitni sharifo. Very good.
It's time for your bedtime.
Okay. Ciao. Take it. But look at all these people are saying, what on earth is this what's this cute baby doing awake at this time?
Why are you doing awake? That's the question.
Chalo. Go on, grab that.
That's the question. Why are you doing awake?
That's the question. All right. Right, so, God, whoa, what is going on, mi gente? Right, let me just fix this. So, peoples, God, so what's going down? Made some notes to make sure not to forget certain things. Well, have I brought the wrong book? You're joking. That is the... I'm sure I made... Oh, here they are. I'm going to need to hire a full-time secretary here. So what is going on? What are your thoughts, Mufti? Opening for Oculus. You're doing it. Evil eye, well, it's a good thing I don't believe in the evil eye. So, what is going on? As always, I suppose we should bless the ceremony with some poetry. Let me bring forward my chai. Let me get this. Let's use the mu'allaqat today as a... Right, there you go. And those of you asking, right, so, Peoples, I brought you, I don't know if some of you are now, you're into the whole Urdu poetry. Somebody, Mufti is muy guap. You naughty. Basi, you're doing it. Right, so, for poetry, I've got you today, if I can, yep, it's right here. somebody I've not really shared much of her work, a female poetess, Urdu poetess, rather. Somebody absolutely amazing, people. Where is it? Where is it? Right here. Yep. People, I present. This is Yasra Rizvi. Check it out.
शुक्र करो मेरी जान कि खुदा
Absolutely epic she is.
और हाथ में इन लोगों के तराजुए ईमान नहीं है. अभी तो ये जिंदगी उसी की देन है. अभी तो ये इनका एहसान नहीं है. फर्ज करो अगर इंसान ही खुदा होता तो क्या होता. गम जिंदगी के हमसे शायद न संभाले जाते. सांस लेते तो सजा होती, रोज हवालात में डाले जाते.
वाह
लफ्ज़ें
वाह
जो वो गिनता ही नहीं, उन पे दिन रात उछाले जाते. जन्नत तो क्या जमीन से हम सभी निकाले जाते.
वाह
इंसान तो
वाह.
इंसान है, भगवान नहीं है, रहीम नहीं है, रहमान नहीं है. तभी तो उसके बस में ये जहान नहीं है, जमीन नहीं है, आसमान नहीं है.
Vah, vah, people. Absolutely enamored by her poetry, by her concepts. An amazing poet. You can check her out on YouTube. Peoples, what is going down, mi gente? Eid Mubarak. Eid Mubarak. A belated, amazing Eid Mubarak to all of you. You know, this... somebody said vah vah. I've got, for that, allow me, people. La 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 la. So, right, what is going down? Eid has passed us by. A rather different feel to this year's Eid. I did see this and I thought, well, let me share this, people. What do you think of this? My Qurbani. You see, you turn up for your Qurbani and you end up with the vegan. Oh, that's sorry. I almost brought us into the masala segment. I was meant to. बड़ी मुसीबत की घड़ी है. Right, so people, but what do you think of this though? Vegan Qurbani. So a parcel of food is delivered on a person's behalf and they offer a vegan Qurbani. I feel that Ishaq, Subi, and Philip, you're doing it with the super chat. Much love. I will get to your questions in just a moment. Just speaking about this for a moment. Qurbani. Now, I've seen a bit of some hoo-ha on social media. I think some Americans saying, what the hell, in Mecca, they slaughter all these animals and blah, blah, blah. And to be honest, I feel that, look, they're not in no position to speak, right? Everybody knows the steak industry, the American beef industry is of, it's of cataclysmic proportions. So it's nothing to do. So I find that just so ironic, people making an issue about the Muslims when their own countries are out of control on these things. But as Muslims ourselves, introspecting, I feel we should introspect. We should look into our own kind of societies and what we're doing and what are the thoughts. And Qurbani is a point. So there was a time where I feel that, look, because clearly when it comes to qurbani, when it comes to the adahi, in Arabic, the adahi or the udhiyah, which is, and in Urdu or commonly sometimes people call it qurbani, it's also, qurban is also an Arabic word for the kind of sacrifice. Now, we know it's not the meat that reaches God. Okay, it clearly doesn't. So, it's the taqwa. Allah says, لَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ, that it is the taqwa that reaches Allah. And we know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as he began, he later on not restrained, but brought it in, teaching us that eventually that one person could sacrifice. The Prophet in a hadith, he sacrificed on behalf of himself, his family, his near and dear, and then in certain riwayat on behalf of the ummah. Now, I feel that, and even if there is some kalam in the chain, but I feel taking this teaching forward with us, that in this day and age, the Maliki madhab would allow a person anyway, the school of Medina, on behalf of their entire household, as in no matter how many people are in that household. I would say this needs to go up several notches because it's symbolic. And maybe in this day and age, the adahi, the qurbani, could be, one for an entire kind of village, if you like, or an entire even, locality has just one offering. I feel that there's, and what they could do is, now that's not going to cost so much to obviously get one animal for an entire village or an entire, locality. But what I would say is that then they could spend the equivalent that they were to spend on the poor. Okay, they could gift that to the poor, whoever the poor are. And I feel that that is the way forward for, for things like al-adahi. Because I don't think everybody really needs to still be sacrificing. I don't know, that's my thoughts. I think that, that I don't want to say bas bahut ho gaya yaar. Then I'll be stuck, I'll be in the words of
फंसा दिया ना तूने मुझे
फंसा दिया ना तूने मुझे
तूने बहका दिया ना तेरे कहने में मैं आ गया इस वक्त बड़ी मुसीबत की घड़ी है अपने मामला खुद
फंसवा दिया ना तूने मुझे. Right, so what is going down? I don't know what your thoughts are on that. So yeah. All right, you're doing it, people. You're doing it. Sure. He also says the word. All right, so let's go to some of these questions that have been thrown up. We're going to take a look at in the Masala segment at one of our beloveds, Baba Fariduddin Ganguteli. Oh, there's been the Farid leaks. Sometimes, it is sometimes leak ho jata hai. This one happened, sometimes. It's like, oof, oh, sorry, it's leak, We're going to have to take a look at that later on, but that's, that is, nutty. We'll come to that. But let's take a look at some questions. I did want to go through a bit of a serious discussion on the blasphemy murders in Peshawar. In addition to that, I wanted to... Right, so I wanted to... I've been taking a look at this... this Netflix series called called Indian Matchmaking. Rather. So that's something we'll discuss a little as well. So let's take a look at some of these questions that are preoccupying the precious thoughts of mi gente. Man kana la yu'min, man kana yu'minu billah. Sorry. I thought he said who does not believe, who does believe. Acha. من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فلا يجلس على مائدة يدار عليها بالخمر. Allah, 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 Allah. Shut up. Do not sit on the table with the alcohol. You know this. يدار عليها الخمر, huh? Allah, Allah, Allah. मजा तब मिलता है जब शराबें शराबों में मिले. Allah, Allah, Allah. So what is this? You see, look, I've explained this in much detail before. There is no sin in sitting at a table with his alcohol. But this hadith, if true, is part of a series, a systematized approach to distance people from alcohol. So it begins by saying, well, you know, if you're drunk, then don't pray, or if you're like this, then don't do this. And there's an incremental development towards the prohibition of khamar. An incremental developed approach. So we can see that there's several things mentioned about alcohol being perceived to be something very dirty and najas almost, and this perception appears to distance the public from it. And amongst that, the Prophet saying, look, such and such is cursed, and such is cursed, and don't even sit at the table. And then the person who's serving it is cursed, and the person who's buying it is cursed. And these things are like religious rhetoric to just create a distance between the people and the alcohol. And it's made haram. So that's all it was. I would say that once that generation had settled, the ruling was stabilized anyway. So it's not that sitting at a table with alcohol is haram. Because if that's the case, then you wouldn't be allowed to marry Christians. As Imam Malik said that, well, if you marry, when he was asked about marrying the Christian lady, he said, well, you know, you have no right to then stop her from bringing alcohol in the home or in consuming pork. And in fact, you'd have to pay for it. You know, you would, because you're paying for her to take care of her. So she eats pork and drinks wine, and that comes part of the parcel. So a lot of people don't realize these things, but it's actually in our fiqh books. Even Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal said a very similar thing. All right, Haris Ansari, just subscribe. You're doing it. Right, so I hope that makes much sense. Somebody saying, Inaya saying Khadijatul Kubra. I don't know what that's in reference to. Right, let's see. Allah, Allah, Allah. Ooh. What's going down? Okay, we've answered that question. Philip says, will Mufti do a talk or a video about the Zaydi and the Ibadi sects? Sure. I mean, not a... it's not like it's against my religion to talk about them. I will. I just feel that to do something, the Ibadis, I need to develop my learning more on them. So it's actually been an area of interest for me recently. with certain matters of faith as the triangulation method to arrive at reasonable certainty. So part of in early Islam, we know certain things to be true based on this approach. I feel that things like the Mecca question. How do we know that Abdul Malik ibn Marwan did not change the Kaaba as some Islam revisionists claim? So they claim Islam was, not Islam, the Prophet was in Petra, and the Umayyad dynasty changed, arguably Abdul Malik or maybe his son Walid, they changed the place of the center of Islam to Al-Hijaz and to Mecca because they had some relatives there and things like this. Now, you see, with this, the reason this cannot be true. And I've got a very detailed video answering Dan Gibson's. And I feel Dan Gibson and these people have done a very good job, to be honest. Because it is their job to bring the toughest questions. And I won't lie, I thought it was a very tough question. Looking at the evidences, looking at the masajid, the early qiblas, Dan Gibson brings, I think, is it 60-something early masajid foundations pointing more towards Petra than they are towards Mecca, and showing a systematic, an overall which rises above the probability factor. And then I've provided a response in addition to why do some of the early Muslim sources refer to the Kaaba as the Shami Kaaba. So the Kaaba from Sham. So even in I believe it's in Bukhari as well, but it's in other books. I do quote it where they say Al-Kaaba to Shamia, which is Mecca. But why are they referring to it as that then? And this support, it seems to at face value extend support to what Dan Gibson and these people are saying. So, so yours truly has answered these questions. Even though they may have been perceived as unanswerable, but unanswerable for others, but apun ke liye, I've answered them. So you can check it out. I give my response in much detail about, I go into the role of Kosary, one of the ancestors of the Prophet in this, and the biographical account tying in all of this and why potentially some of these masjids may have been pointing to Petra. So that's a very detailed kind of response. I mean, I wouldn't do it justice here, but briefly I explain how foundations of place of worship are often built upon other foundations, and how old world sites are aligned with constellations and things like this. And it's easier for certain people to navigate in light of those constellations. And the Nabatean were a commerce empire, a mercantile empire, an empire of commerce and business, and they had roots as far as China. So I go into much more detail there, explaining how it's very likely, because they were Arab. They were Arab in the sense that they were of that same kind of genetic makeup, but I don't think they necessarily identified as this. Arab identity is quite loose pre-Islam. It's very, it's there, but how much of a bond do they feel they have with other people? It's not so clear. Maybe they didn't have as much of a bond as later Arabs forged a bond, especially through Islam, and through these things the bond became much stronger. And an identity was shaped. So the early Arabs, even though they were Arabs, they may not have identified as Arabs. They may have identified just as Byzantines, or as the Nabateans as Nabateans. Some of the others may be more with the Sassanids. But even though they were Arab ethnically, or similar-ish to Arabs, whatever that means. So, yeah. So I explained that there, but you can check it out. But one of the methods to support that was this triangulation method of how could it be that the Sunni, the Shia, and the Ibadi, or the Khawarij, who are today the Ibadis, would agree on the Qibla. Like, they would never have agreed. Like, they, cannot tolerate each other. So they would never have co-conspired to arrive at the original Kaaba. They would have exposed each other, definitely. And this is actually a very powerful message, a method to identify certain things in early Islam. Cool. Hope that makes some sense. What's going down? Yara, your channel on YouTube is still waiting, but caught you here. Is it still waiting? Is the YouTube still not? Don't say that. Don't say that. Let me check. No, it's live. It's live. Acha, cha, cha. Acha. अच्छा अच्छा हमको वो बना रहे हैं Gotta be careful when coughing. People think you got coronavirus. Even though that I've long had. So, what is going down, mi gente? Statements are easy to make, but backing it up is a different matter. I don't know. Well, yeah, I agree, but it depends whether you're saying that to me or to... If you're saying to me, I think these things can be backed up, and I have kind of backed up a certain amount, and I'm sure more research is required. Inaya, you're doing it with the super chat. It says, you read occult book Shams al-Ma'arif. Shams al-Ma'arif. Nope. Haven't read Shams al-Ma'arif. I don't know what that's about. I can check it out. Socha, a couplet for you, Mufti. Socha to हूँ कि सोच में खो ना जाऊं कहीं, मगर यही सोच कर मैं खो गया. There was I did have something here of some of the dons of Urdu poetry. This is a famous couplet of Daag. Allah, Allah, Allah. Le chala jaan meri root ke jana tera. Haye, haye, haye. Le chala jaan meri root ke jana tera. ऐसे आने से तो बेहतर था ना आना तेरा. He says, you see, you going away like this is just going to take it's going to just tear my heart, rip the life out of me. If this was how you wanted to come, it was better that you didn't come. This can be fitted in a number of scenarios. You know, there's वो कत्ल करके मुझे हर किसी से पूछते हैं, ये काम किसने किया है, ये काम किसका था. After murdering me, they ask people, who did this, by the way? Who's responsible? वफा करेंगे, निभाएंगे, बात मानेंगे. तुम्हें भी याद है ये कलाम किसका था? हाय हाय दाग जी. He says that we will be loyal, we will see it till the end, we will listen, be subservient. He says, do you have any recollection who may have uttered these words? हर एक से कहते हैं दाग बेवफा निकला, ये पूछिए उनसे कोई ये गुलाम किसका था. हाय हाय हाय. He says that they say to each and all that Dag has turned out to be unloyal. Why don't you ask them? Here you see the word ghulam means like servant, but here what he's saying really is, why don't you ask them who's responsible in that way for making him like that? Right, but this is an interesting book, by the way, if you're into Urdu poetry. It's a very it's called Old is Gold. It's about great poets. 11, I think it's put together 11. I haven't been through them all, but it's just like the dons of Urdu poetry. It's kind of brought them together. But yeah, let's put that over there. What is going down, people? Can nothing create something? Woof, Albert Einstein. Can nothing create something? But God is something, so he created something. Hi. Did I just answer some of the greatest questions? Did I just answer? Did I just answer some of the greatest, most difficult, profound question in history? Did I just do that, people? Right here on Monday Nights with Mufti. Vah. Right, it's my usual opening line. Clear, as you know, I wasn't late. Mufti Mucha Macho was late to go on air. Mucha Macho, cha. Akhtar Khan, Akhtar the Mubarak Shah. Speaking about that, we're going to come to that, about the Pashto thing. Ay, Pakhtuna mana, how kana? Pakhtun Kha, huh? I think Taji Mustafa wants to join Mindtrap. Does he? Okay, message me. Let's see. I think the super chat disappeared. I did one and it's gone. Arthur, is that the case? Did I not answer it? Let me see. Are you trying to blag it? Was Aisha a feminist? Was Aisha radiallahu anha a feminist? You see, I'm not so sure what that means. Ismail says, Mufti, I contacted you on Insta. Did you now? Did I block you? I'm joking. Oh, अच्छा, super chat भेजे हैं. अच्छा, क्षमा कीजिए हमें क्षमा. I'm joking, Ismail. I'm sure I responded. If I haven't, send me another message. You know what it is? Because of Eid, so many people just send messages like Eid Mubarak to everyone. So I get loads of them, and they've drowned out so many other messages, and it's a bit annoying almost. But I know it's a nice gesture, but it's just that even if you get like 40 messages, which isn't that many if you think about it, 40 people, that's a hell of a lot to drown out all your other conversations. And yeah, so drop me another message and I'll be on it. Right, what's the question you asked? Somebody said about yeah, it's a nice gesture. I'm not saying I'm not trying to have a go at people saying anything about Eid. I'm not saying I appreciate tahe dil se. But it's I'm just saying it's amazing how some nice things can, not intentionally, but can be kind of a bit inconveniencing as well. It's an irony. Yeah, Jahil people don't understand irony. Who am I speaking to here? They don't understand irony. Ab ka kare? Right. So what is going? I was going to say something. What was I going to talk about? I was going to say something. Let me go back, check. Was it to do with... Right, Aisha radiallahu anha, Mustafa Akyol would be interesting. Yeah, I'm sure I've messaged Mustafa Akyol. If you do know him, drop him a message and ask him if he's interested in coming on. Cool. Lay of the pot, Layth. Lay off the pot, Layth. Oh. Do we feel that Aisha radiallahu anha was a feminist? Well, of course, but then I don't know when we say terms like feminist, whether the kind of interpretative repertoire, the interpretative repertoire in which we're tapping into, the kind of shared concepts are the same. I don't know whether when I'm saying feminist and the person asking feminist is meaning the same thing. So to me, a feminist is, if you mean like really, it's somebody who ought to stand up for women's rights as well. Now, that unquestionably Aisha radiallahu anha was somebody who stood up for women's rights, and she has many hadith critiquing certain narrations that people were misattributing to the Prophet. Things like, oh, if a woman walks in front of you, your prayer becomes invalid. And she actually condemns certain companions for saying that, saying they misunderstood what the Prophet was saying. And yeah, in that sense, absolutely. But I mean, if you mean like sometimes a feminist is like a kind of man-hating, it is, yeah. I might just it is sometimes deemed like that as well. So obviously she wasn't like that, and I think that's a wrong hijacking of the term feminist. To me, a feminist ought to be somebody who stands up for everybody's rights, especially women's rights. So that is really what a feminist is meant to be about, an egalitarian society. But you do have, I think they may be a fringe, but maybe they're more vocal in this day and age. So you get like a very bitter group that is very kind of almost anti-men. They're just anti the XY chromosome. They're just like, just, man. So, yeah, I mean, so she clearly wasn't like that. I don't think women I think this is very much a modern phenomenon, by the way. I don't know what people think. Is it, I don't think women in the past hate, I don't think women today do either, but I think there is a niche, a kind of a group of women who do think like that, are quite man-hating. But I don't think historically people were like that. I think for the, this is maybe just at best a few decades old. That's my thoughts. I don't know what other people think about that. Would you go, Kapil? You're doing it with the super chat. You're doing it. By the way, somebody said that I'd missed some super chats. I did go through this and I couldn't see any. So if you have sent any and I haven't answered them, you can just send the question stating that, look, this was the super chat, and provided I see it, I'll definitely go through it. Right, so somebody said WKA Miss Jones. I don't know what that means. Claire, we love men. Of course, of course. I think really, this is just a poison that a small group of people just have. I think for the most part, people ain't like that, but it's so amplified. It's quite scary because, sometimes it's the weirdest of people have the most hollow of drums beat the loudest. They make the loudest sounds, and sometimes you get that on social media, all this echo, and I think sometimes it does freak a lot of men out. Like they are a bit weary about, So that's interesting, and we'll speak a bit about that as I speak about this Netflix TV show. All right, arranged Indian matchmaking. But we'll come to that. Is there a biography? Sheikh Yusuf Basatin from HT gave a fatwa permitting kissing a woman as long as there is no lust. You see, this is where we're going to listen to these fatwa, and then there's going to be a scandal, and then this is going to be us.
फंसा दिया ना तूने मुझे तूने बहका दिया ना तेरे कहने में मैं आ गया इस वक्त बड़ी मुसीबत की घड़ी
बड़ी
है
मुसीबत की
अपनी अपने मामला खुद देखो दूसरे को इल्जाम
फंसवा दिया ना तूने मुझे. What is that means? Like, for those of you that can't understand that, you've got me stuck now, haven't you? You lured me in. I shouldn't have listened to you. That's what Sheikh Yusuf Basatin, when we get caught, we'll be like, Sheikh Yusuf, Sheikh Yusuf. Yeah. This is all Sheikh Yusuf's fault. Sheikh Yusuf Basatin. Basatin? Is that his name? Basatin, like garden. Is that the... So, as long as there's no lust. Now, when they catch you in it, you'll be like, यार कोई लस्ट ही नहीं था. अच्छा, इस पे मत जाओ. Don't take his testimony. This guy's testimony doesn't count.
Dajjal with a small d. Or we can say mini Dajjals, no problem.
Mini
But there
Dajjal.
is one Dajjal with a big D.
With
okay?
a big D. So, yeah. So that's an interesting fatwa, though. I'll have to look into that. Yusuf Basatin saying you can kiss each other as long as there's no... Yeah, let's get him on Mind Trap. we go, Mwah, Sheikh Yusuf. Yusuf. No lust, this one. No lust. How do they measure that, though? What do they... Does there have to be some movement? An increase in blood flow somewhere? Is it? How do they measure the... You go, nahi yaar, that increase in blood is blood pressure. Blood pressure. This one, I blood pressure problem. They catch them in bed. It's like, no yaar, this one no lust here. There's no lust. We do this without lust. There's no lust in this one. Ismail Akram, I contacted you on the madrasa issue. Of course. Awesome. I remember now. I will speak about that. That's a good point. Kapil, you're doing it with the super chat. Much love. And yes, go on David Wood's stream. Sure. When is it? Send me the details. Brother, why are you wearing a necklace? Why are you wearing that thing on your ears? That thing, goddammit. What's wrong with you? Why are you wearing that thing? Right. Let's take a look at some... What is so funny? Mary Red said. Mary Red. What is so funny? You are deceptive. You are full of contradictions. You know, this one. Ayo, Mary had a little lamb. Somebody feels a bit bitter after Eid al-Adha. Mary looking for a little lamb ended up on my live stream and she's having a go at me. अबे, मैंने थोड़े ना ज़बह किया है. I didn't slaughter anything, so this one not nice. Let's take a look at some serious questions now. Mary Red, you are right. You are right. You are a right. Mary Red, Abdul Hamid says, Mary Red, you are a right. What a fool. Ay, Abdul Hamid. You are a right. You are a right too, huh? Mufti, what is your opinion on celebrating Miladun Nabi? Yeah, sure. I think people can if they wanted to. It's not really established as part and parcel of the religion, but if people want to celebrate it, I feel why not? I'm not against people celebrating it. I am against. Okay, I don't like the whole. The whole mega commemorations, the processions in the street and the blocking off the roads and causing inconvenience to others, and all of that. I do condemn that, right? Because I think that's just ridiculous. It's a nuisance. It's inconvenience. But generally, if people in masjids or at home want to do some kind of commemorate the day, it's up to them. I don't personally. Because it's not established in Islam to do that, and the Prophet and the early Muslims never did things like that. So I'm, in my general practice, upon the principles of the school of Medina and Imam Malik, who didn't really recognize innovations in Islam. So I don't personally practice that, but if people do, I don't condemn them. I don't say, oh my God, what the hell are you doing? You're going to hell. It's their choice, each to their own. To some people, that helps them. Muhammad Bari says, I'm driving my truck. You're doing it, Muhammad Bari. You're doing it. Yeah, I can't get to the gym because of all these processions. Speaking of the gym, my local gym has opened. Oh my God. It feels so good to be back in the gym. It's like a next level of bliss, which is like, it's like, wow. This is what Freud referred to as the oceanic feeling. Right. So, Korean preservation. यार ये कोरिया को मादा कैसे सो Oh, Quran preservation. Acha. Bueno. I thought, what's this? Why is this person so concerned about the Korean preservation? Even the Koreans are like, yeah, what's this? Why is this guy so concerned? Even Kim Jong-un is like, huh? Yeah, maybe we should get him as part of our cabinet. The concern this guy has is more than our country put together. Yeah, the Quran preservation, I have answered that. I'll bring up, actually, I've got some notes. I'll bring them up. Right, so, Mufti, I'm writing book against the Salafis. Well, I don't think that's too difficult, to be honest. To defeat the Salafis, I think like a post-it note will do, really. It's not... No, I mean, the Salafis, don't get me wrong, they are sincere people. Sincere, mashallah. Mashallah. When you see their sincerity, oh, I got something for you guys. When you see their sincerity, and then you... No, oh no, this was something else. This one, not the one, but this one, okay as well. That was, I think this was this. What is this guy doing? that's the excitement I want you guys to all have when it's Monday nights with Mufti or whether it's Mind Trap. If you don't tune in with that excitement, then just switch right back off. Do that, whatever Balabashi Saab is doing, and then when you're ready, come straight back on. That's the vibes. It's Eid, it's the spirit, people. So, yeah, now, right, let's take some questions. This Bengali Don shaming us. I thought he's so in his moment. Look. I don't know what he's singing, but it seems so. Whatever, I'll have whatever he's having, because he seems to be in an awesome mood. Eid Mubarak, right back at you, people, right back at you. So, let's have some serious questions now. Serious questions, people. Okay, I was asked a question about should one study the Alamiya. Ismail Akram had asked this question. Right, now, he'd asked that he himself, if I've understood the question correctly, is very interested in learning about the deen, and this is a generic, I mean, it could apply to many of you watching this today, that he has great passion to learn the deen, but he's on a trajectory for a career. Like many young people, they could be approaching university or in university, or maybe they're out of university, but he is on this trajectory to study whatever it is. It's going to take a full degree, then it's going to take some years of practice, then searching a career. For him to go and join a madrasa, which is on average even an easy route, is really like a minimum 5-year route. That's like really fast, but 6 years on average, that's like for the short end of a route. If he's a real quick learner and things like this. Otherwise, between 6 to 8 years. But even if we're going with 5 years, the equal time that it would take him to finish a degree, finish some kind of specialism. So let's say he did a law degree, he could do an LPC after that, and he could be now practicing law, or he's finished a madrasa. Is this really the thing for him to do, to take that choice and go into madrasa learning because he's passionate about Islam? Should he do that? But what would he do for a career after all of this? I mean, what's he going to do? Is he going to end up in a maktab? A maktab is like where they teach kids in a mosque, in a masjid. In the UK, they call it maktab. Some places call it kutab, and they have other names for it. Right, I forgot the name. I remember reading the Somali name for it. I forgot what it is. And I was reading it completely differently. It's got like an X in it, and I was thinking, what on earth is it called a dox or something? But and I was thinking, what is this? But it turns out it's the same thing. This maktab. Now, what are my thoughts on this person? Should he do that? I think, look, if I'm to be give you I have been through the university system, I've been through the madrasa system, I've been through kind of freelance learning off in the Middle East, and like I've done that when I did it. But how would I advise these people today in this day and age to necessarily do that? Maybe not. You see, if you can learn the deen equally without taking a madrasa, full-on madrasa route. Okay, you can do it. And you can even do it as effectively, if not even more effectively in some ways. Because there's, the pros and the cons about a madrasa life. So the madrasa life, and that's like moving into full-time, accommodated education. So, you see, the great thing about this is everything is mapped out for you, what you're going to learn. There's a foundational level to all these sciences, like let's say the Quran, tafsir, hadith, usul hadith, fiqh, usul fiqh, Arabic, grammar, nahu, sarf, balagha, adab, tarikh, history, aqidah. All of these things are there, and then they're going to, there's a kind of gradual approach to accomplishing your learning. So you're going to, in increments, grow. So you'll have the basics, then you're going to jump to, as the years go by, you're going to cover the same kind of topics again, but in more depth, and then again in more depth, and then again in more depth, and along with new material as well, obviously. So by the end of it, you are a scholar, unquestionably, if you have a passion. Now, so the plus side, we're looking at the plus side. Everything is mapped out for you. The hard work in providing the material has been done. The basic stuff, the kind of skeletal, the kind of structure of it, the foundation, not more than the foundation. It's like all the wiring and everything is being laid out. The teachers are being brought to you. You are on a kind of conveyor belt. This is the awesome thing of being in a madrasa, is that you just have to wake up, which is in your room, in your dorms. You have to just get ready and walk to class, which is going to be in that connected building anyway. So, and now you're in class and all the teachers are coming to you. So that is amazing from that perspective. And you can't really beat that. And it has a great kind of camaraderie, a whole brotherhood or sisterhood, arguably, the whole, that friendship. And these are the amazing highlights of a madrasa. However, the downside of, the cons or the negative, the drawbacks of going to a madrasa system through a madrasa is that it dumbs you down, unfortunately. Because a lot of the asatidha are so insecure about being questioned, about the whole system is built from an angle of dogmatism. There is no critical thought at all that will exist. The only critical thought that does exist is, ironically, what you will confessionally read within the text. So when you're reading a book, like let's say you're reading, I don't know, Hidayah of the Hanafiya. Now, it will say that Abu Hanifa said this, and Shafi'i said this, and Shafi'i critiqued this point like this. So now you're reading some critical thought, and then they will say, but we kind of dealt with them with this. There you go. So it's not really critical thought applied. It is at a 2D level. It's not 3D. So it's not in your actual lives. You're not encouraged. In fact, forget encouraged. If you start getting critical, you'll be told off. So I used to be critical when I used to study, and I was told off on several occasions. I remember once I got into this whole, it turned into an argument, actually. I think I've narrated it before, but this is just a minor example of where I was told, oh, you're not allowed to dress with collars. Like, you can't have collars on your qamis. So you have to wear the kind of Chem and Mao style shalwar qamis, the thobe without the collars. So I said, I was trying to make sense of, sorry, what? How did that become an Islamic thing? And they said, well, duh. Duh, you can't even tell that wearing collars is an Islamic. So I was like, I don't get that. Why is that not Islamic? And they said, well, because this resembles the shirts that are made in Europe, which is then resembling the non-Muslim kuffar. I thought, this, any more of this, and my thinking's going to be pushed right back to the Neanderthal days. Because I can imagine like Neanderthals, if they were sitting in that class, they'd be like, "Wah, what a point! Wah." The Neanderthals would be like, "Vakia, you know, we're evolving. We can feel it. We're on a trajectory for greatness. You guys feel it, yeah? Yeah?" And then they go extinct. But this is the kind of mentality that you get in the madrasa, you see. And I was obviously, you know, when you said that to me, I was pissed off that what the hell are you talking about? Why, that does, you do understand that what you said makes zero sense. There's nothing that doesn't make any sense. And they're like, of course it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. And I said like, no, it doesn't. And then they're like, well, you know, if you don't do, because then you're in breach of Islamic morals. And I thought, I don't know with this. Have I missed like 3 seasons? Are we on a different, is this season 6 now? How the hell did we jump to Islamic morals? This is like, and so this is what I mean. It gets so dumb and so, and then if you challenge them, like, so when I challenged the teacher, he got really upset that, how dare you challenge me? And I said to him, but I'm just asking you to explain what you're telling me because it's not making sense to me. So he said, well, your job, he said, is to listen to me. And he said to me, these were his words. He said, look, he said that you right now don't understand this. When I was at your stage, I didn't understand it. But once you graduate and you become a scholar, you will understand it. So I said to him, well, okay, in that case, I take it you've understood it now then. So why don't you just now explain it to me? Needless to say, that comeback was not a great hit. Friend. He was fuming. He was like, what the hell? He said, listen, Abu Hanifa, Al-Imam Abu Hanifa kal-basir. These were his words. Kal-basir. Wa anta kal-a'ma. No, not anta. He said, nahnu, we are blind, like blind people. And Imam Abu Hanifa is the one with sight. So how dare you ask any question? I was thinking, how did Imam Abu Hanifa get into this discussion? I want to know what's happening inside this guy's neural networks. Like, have we changed the complete... Are we watching something entirely different now? I don't know, but that's... You see, I laughed, but this is the truth, unfortunately. So, when they dumb down your thinking, it can take you in the future so many years to kind of undo that. Because they're going to dumb it down day after day, month after month, and year after year. So when you've gone through 6 years of rigorous training of being dumbed down and being told off for and not being allowed to air your condition, your kind of thoughts and questions, and then it's hard sometimes to later on become like that because, you know, you're not used to, you start to lack that confidence to do it. Because every time you try and do it, somebody shatters you. So, yeah, so I feel in many ways, you know, when you look at the trade-off, that if a person studied on their own, if they studied Arabic, let's say, when I say on their own, sorry, let me rephrase that part. If they studied independently, so let's say you studied Arabic, you got that out the way within 6 months. Within a year, your Arabic's good. But after 6 months, you started picking up, like you started reading basic fiqh, basic other things. Let's say you start like going through some of the different sciences on your own, independently with teachers online. I think as you finish your, let's say, higher education pursuits, so for the sake of example, let's say in this case we were going with law. By the time you finish your law degree and you finish your LPC training, you would be, if not I believe, as qualified as a scholar, if not more, from the perspective of critical thought, and your kind of reach will surpass them. There are certain places in the UK, I feel things like Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad's place. I've heard great things about it. I think that's great. I think also, reading up at that stage, as you've done all the kind of these interim books, you've kind of covered them, you've learnt about subjects, you've watched lectures on YouTube, you've kind of, listened to different discussions on them. Now, what you can also start doing is reading up about what academics have said. So sometimes these PhD academics have really fascinating insights on Islamic things to kind of gain a much greater depth to that area of focus. So that I would say definitely, if you are focused on a career, then go for it, and you can just learn this stuff on the side. You don't need to abandon your secular studies and become a full-time madrasa student. If a person did want to go to madrasa, that's good as well, but just be wary about the things I was saying about it dumbing you down. You have to do that all on your own. It will be the onus will be on you to make sure you keep your critical faculties alive, you keep questioning. And the problem is, in those institutes, they do bully you on many occasions. So it is hard. Like, they will, if they find out you question things, they'll deem you a heretic. They may even in the final years dismiss you, and that would be such a waste. Like, I've known people in Birmingham, I've known of people who reached a final year. I mean, think about that. You've studied 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, and you reach a final year and they say, sorry, you have a haircut with, what is it, like a fade, like how I have it. This wasn't with me, but it was with people reported to me. And because you trim your beard, we're not going to allow you to graduate, and we're going to expel you. So, and this is going on in the 21st century in the UK by people who are born in the UK. The scholars who are doing this to them are British-born scholars. So, yeah, so I mean, I'm not, as you can see, I do on one hand love the traditional kind of thing, but I feel that the institutes are such, it's such a trade-off. Yeah, but if you can do it on your own, it may be much better. If you do go to a madrasa, alhamdulillah, just make sure you do all these other things on your own. You keep researching, keep expanding, you keep looking into that each genre independently. So when you're looking at tafsir, read the other names of mufassirin. When you're looking at fiqh, follow up on the usul of other madhabs. Read about the lives of different scholars. Let it come to life for you. I can't stress that enough. You know what makes it come to life for me is I read up about the people involved. I read about the human side of them. I read about the, when did they used to live? What did they used to do? Who were their friends? I will try and, what were some weird opinions they had? Why did they have that weird opinion? It's, and then when their name is mentioned, they come to life for me. When I hear the name of Abu Bakr ibn Arabi, Qadi Iyad, Ibn Abdul Bar, Ibn Hazm, Ibn Rushd, these people are they're like people that I know. It's like I know their temperaments, I know their personalities, I know you could tell me something and I'll be like, that doesn't sound like Ibn Hazm would say that. You see, I could be wrong, but it's like you could tell me something about a friend of mine and I would feel that, it doesn't sound like something that friend would say. Because this is how these people, they have personalities. You can get to know them. So I hope that makes some sense. But it is the madrasa system. It's a shame because it's an amazing concept, so poorly executed. It's so counterproductively executed. I wish that the madrasas were kind of cool and we would have amazing, don't you think so? We'd have an amazing kind of level out there. Because if you think about it, each year, think about the UK, there must be at least 500 scholars being produced every year. Easily. I mean, that's a very, a low end, extremely low end, I think, estimation. Probably 1,000 every year in the UK. I mean, most of these, it's not even that they just cannon fodder, that these people are just a waste. Most of them are then an impediment to to enlightened growth, because they become the people that then say, Toba, 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 this one kufar, you know? It's like a cha-cha-cha. You come and join that line, yeah? Shabash. Yeah. All right, Salman Moyin, you're doing it with the super chat, man. Much love, much love. Right, so it is amazing your connection. Do you dream about Ibn Rushd and Ibn Hazm? I have, in some, as a one-off, had dreams about scholars in the past. I've dreamt of Ibn Abdul Barr. I've dreamt of some other scholars as well. I'm pretty sure I've dreamt of Qadi Iyad. I've dreamt, I just, in the dream, it's not like I've dreamt about them in some kind of, mesmerizing, romantic Bollywood sense, but as in, like, in the dream, I happen to be talking to them, or I wish I could say I'm often doing that. I'm not. My dreams are usually just crazy and not of this nature. This is the one-off occasion where I don't know what happens, and it's like, huh? How come I had an Islamic dream? But yeah, so, but I have had dreams with them. It's amazing because my dream of Ibn Abdul Barr I had so many years ago, but it still stands out like so. In that dream, I walked into this kind of, I wanted to meet him. I was in some building and I knew he was there and he worked there or something. Ibn Abdul Barr, the great Hafiz of the Western Muslim world from about 1,000 years ago. He lived in Muslim Spain. He's one of my kind of dons and a don of the Maliki madhab. So I was like, whoa, I have to meet, Hafiz Ibn Abdul Barr. And they said, oh, well, he's in that office over there. So I go into this office and he's like a professor. He's like dressed like a professor. He looked a bit like, in my dream, a bit like, what's that actor's name? Yeah, the one from Gladiator. What's his name? Bloody hell. See, like, slip. But the way he plays, the way he kind of looks in A Beautiful Mind. That's Russell. What is it? But anyway, right. So you know who I'm talking about. So he was like that, the way he's in that movie, and dressed like a professor, and he's sitting there, all these books, and he's on this chair sitting there, and he's kind of reading some book or something. And I go in and I have this kind of conversation with him, and I was so like wowed by, but I was kind of shocked because I didn't expect him to look like that. So, not being judgmental, Russell Crowe, that's it. He looked like that, but the slightly chubbier version of, not fat, but like, the one from, but yeah, that was a very interesting, intriguing dream because I still remember it as clearly as I saw it and it'd been so many years now I saw that. Yeah. Right, so what's going on, people? What somebody said, Inaya, go on, ask that to Mufti. Ask what to Mufti? A Beautiful Mind was a beautiful movie. It was actually. It was an amazing movie. Was Ibn Abdul Barr in the reception? Yeah, Ibn Abdul Barr. He was a don, though. I gotta give it. Ibn Abdul Barr. So, Mufti, how much you make? How much I make? How much I make as in cha-ching, or how much I make in something else? How common is sex? How common? Yeah, let's go to that question. Yeah, everything on hold. Yaar, ruko yaar. It's a question about Islam. هذا سؤال مهم. Sí. What is ¿cuál es tu pregunta? Wait, oh damn, has he disappeared? Oh no. Have I lost the question? See, I'm trying to trying to go back. How common Marina, huh? How common is sexual abuse? Acha, that's how you lure them in. How common is sexual abuse in the madrasa? Yeah, it's very unfortunate. These things are common. Very unfortunate, but yeah. I mean, depends when you say common and what countries. In the West, I think it's not unheard of in the West, but it's not going to be as common as in other parts of the world. So here as well, I'm pretty sure there were certain cases that were going on. I think now they're probably clamping down more on this, but unfortunately, the madrasa attitude towards this kind of sexual abuse isn't all that. Like, their attitudes often are like, well, believe it or not, it's actually quite strangely, like, the attitude towards, like, so for example, if they found out a student shaved his beard off, you'd see the four horsemen of the apocalypse outside the gate. It would all hell, and with them followed hell. That's how you're going to see all hell break loose. There's gonna be, they would go mad. I mean, they would take it as, there would be a personal rage. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the teachers has a heart attack and dies. And God forbid somebody shaved their beard and put an earring on. Two of the teachers would drop dead with, and 3 others would develop blood pressure. That's the kind of, that's on the akbarul kaba'ir. That's like fi darakil asfali minan nar. That's like in the lowest pit of hellfire. And if they found out, somebody's done something to another one of the students, sexual abuse, or somebody, let's say a teacher. Although in this country, I'm not so sure whether the teachers are up to it as much as in other countries, because they're probably, now there's a culture to catch people and do, to kind of expose them and to report them, and which, thank God, I mean, even though it's so late, but there is a culture. But in the other parts of the world, like, let's say the teachers are up to it, or the students are definitely, it's not uncommon in other parts of the world at all, like in places like Pakistan. So their reaction to this will be like, okay, we'll look into it. It's not a laughing matter, but that's how their reaction is. I'm kind of like, when you compare that with the other one, honestly, if you were in Pakistan or in one of those madrasas and you shaved your beard off, I mean, you couldn't even think of putting something like it would literally be, the hadith, فَقَدْ قَامَتْ قِيَامَتُهُ, that is the final hour would descend right there. It would happen. This is it. It would be, all hell would break loose. So, yeah, so they don't take it that seriously, unfortunately, which is, unfortunately doesn't do justice to the word. But yeah, that's a sad state of affairs. This is why I would never recommend for young boys, to ever go to a madrasa in Pakistan. Ever. I would never let somebody I knew go to a madrasa in Pakistan. That toba. That would be like, that would be unimaginable. But if they were a grown man, like, like somebody who is now 20 years old, 19, that kind of age or above, then fine. Then they would be fine like that. But yeah. Right, so what is going on? Yeah, it's a shame. Zeba saying, toba. Yeah, it's a shame, and the shocking thing is, I remember in madrasa, I went and once complained about certain things going on, and they dismissed me. And in fact, ironically, they kind of put me in trouble for it. It was like, okay, I never got into much trouble, but I could have. but me being me, seriously, like I saw certain things going on which weren't right, and I reported them. I said that, look, there's, what the hell's going on here with between this cohort of people, the way they treat this younger guy amongst them. And because they used to be very kind of sexual in their connotations towards him. And do you know what they did? They were just, that particular person was just pissed off. The teacher I went to is pissed off with me for I don't know what. And he said, oh, so you think, basically, oh, you think you're, something like, oh, coming and reporting. Oh, so you think this is like you're a better person coming and I'm like, I'm telling you guys so you can do something about it. He's like, okay, now how are you going to feel when I go and tell those guys that you came and reported them? So I was like, sorry, do I look scared to you? You can go tell them and their dad. And I thought, you think, do I look bothered that you're going to tell them? I was like, go tell them. So this teacher gets up, goes over to those bunch of guys where they were and tells them that, do you know he's reported you guys for this? I said, and? Like, I mean, what, do I look bothered? I said to him, I'm telling you so you can do the sensible thing, right? You're the goddamn supervisor. You ought to intervene and you ought to kind of place safeguarding. What do you want me to go, like do vigilante practice here? Like how... You've got a system in place, and I'm telling you that, look, this doesn't look right. And you're, in turn, trying to threaten me. And I thought... And then, later on, it transpired that they did go on to seriously abuse that guy and sexually and stuff like this. And it's a shame because I found out much after that, that actually then happened as well later on. But, it was like I actually told several, at that time I told that teacher, he didn't listen. I told someone else. They said, okay, we'll look into it. But this is the attitude, unfortunately. May Allah make things easy. I mean, and there were one or two other occasions where we found out and say that, because this guy, this particular kid, he was a British kid, and somebody, some wrong'un had, tried it on with him and everything. And so he came to us, told us, so we did. We had to have some nice words with that person. And, but this is the problem, so, yeah. But yeah, chalo. I digress. Let's get back to Ishaq has sent a super chat. Please contact Taji HT in my country has grown rapidly. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm, I don't respect Hizb ut-Tahrir at all. I think they are a cancer in this ummah. But as a person, I do respect Mustafa Taji. He's like the only HT person that I know that I have as a person I have respect for. Otherwise, the others, I don't respect them at all. And I do have respect for him as a person. He has a great personality, very hospitable, very friendly, very kind of... He's always shown me as a person so much love. So I will reach out to him. I'm happy to, have that discussion. Right, so what is going on? Peoples. What are your views on hijama? Right, hijama is, you see, hijama to me is not something Islamic, but it was being practiced not only by ancient Arabs in the medieval times. It was a huge Christian thing. In fact, if you read up the history on bloodletting, it was something often practiced by the monks, especially throughout medieval Christendom. So when we find a lot of this being promoted, it is really this huge culture of it, I feel, kind of reverberates back through the Christians. I feel, I could be wrong, it definitely existed in early Islam, but I don't think they were that obsessed as they've become later on when this kind of grew in the medieval times. Now, in the Prophet's time, this wasn't something the Prophet invented. It wasn't something the Prophet said, this is what God has told us. It was just what the Arabs did and other people did. So Ibn Rushd and other people write that, look, this is not an Islamic practice. This is just a custom of the Arabs. It's what they would medicate by. If you in time realize it works, then alhamdulillah. If you realize it doesn't work, then you don't need to think this is something God has told you to do. So and that's how I would say that today scientifically there's nothing proven. And in fact, Dr. Imran Khan, Doc from Metroflex, doing it, Doc, you're doing it. Who I've had on Mindtrap. I am hoping to maybe get him again this week on Mindtrap. Now, he, if I recall correctly, has done a study with, I think, was it between 60 to 70 participants and the blood that is extracted, a sample of it, to see does it actually extract more toxins. And it doesn't seem to demonstrate that it's actually bringing out more toxins, but it's just the way it kind of sucks the blood out, that the kind of coagulation makes the blood appear so dark and so you assume that because this blood doesn't look natural, it must be so dirty and full of toxins, but it's actually not. That's what he was telling me his study found as well. Qadr Akkad. Is that Qadr Akkad? You're doing it. Thoughts on Boyer Road Masjid? What's your local? Alright, Boyer Road. Boyer Road is a very popular road in Alum Rock, Birmingham, which is known to the locals as Bavia Road. So if you call it Boyer Road, I mean, now people may, but there was a time where people wouldn't even know what you're talking about. You have to say Bavia Road. Then they go, Bavia Road. Acha, this one over here. But it has a masjid there called Ziya al-Quran. An amazing masjid, it's all done up amazing, and it's a very well-established masjid with a lot of features to it, accommodates for funerals, and if not the whole funeral practice, but several aspects of funerals and gatherings, and it's definitely a community functional masjid for that area. I don't know whether, I'm sure there's room for improvement. I don't actually go there so often, but I have been there on several occasions. So yeah, I have good thoughts about it. Nothing really negative or anything. Right, so what is going down? Mufti, what masjid did you read at? I would love to meet you. Khabib, you're more than welcome to meet me. Just, I often say, reach out to Muhammad Shaban and he'll set it up. Alright, and by the way, those of you, if you want to support my cause, I gotta see, where's my... Is this... Alright, there it is. My Patreon is in full effect, people, so you can check it out. You can support the account. It fully starts, I mean, even though I started it I think about 10 days ago, but it's fully operational now from this month, so I'll be having those kind of sessions and the group chats and everything. So those of you that are on there, watch out for your messages. Cool. And shukran for all your love and support. Somebody said, is that Muhammad Shaban? He's a close friend. He's on all of my... You'll find him on my accounts, and is in several pictures with me and things like that. But we usually always do the link up at his place, the Chill Pad. You're doing it. So, what is going down, people? What is going down? When you gonna debate Asrar? Yar. Oh, right. So there's so the village wars are back on, people. I don't know if you noticed that I've personally been to students being expelled from madrasa for these filthy acts madrasa are strict on this issue and zero tolerance. Yeah, I mean, Saqib Khan just saying, the point you made about the Islamic institutes for not showing interest in sexual harassment. You see, I did say that that there is now a culture here for clamping down. So I did state that it's less so here, although I think it still exists, but less so. I did say that, and most of what I was saying was abroad, but it does still happen here. Maybe less so now, I said, with the culture kind of developing. So, yep, I wasn't saying what my stories of how the teachers were abusing was not about here. So, but here as well, I do think that, in all honesty, if I'm going to be honest, I think the teachers' attitude towards sexual abuse in recent years has only become heightened because they're worried they will get into trouble with the police. It's not because of their personal conviction. They would be much more exacerbated if somebody, like the example I gave, shaved their beard off. They would be on it. But the reason they do now respond to some of these kind of claims of sexual abuse, not so much because they are that riled up and angry at the thing, it's because they fear that, oh my God, we might get shut down, the police will investigate us and the press will investigate. So it's more an external pressure. But I agree, I did state then as well. How are they against gays? Khadim Razvi says, and so much, yet the it is true, it's interesting, isn't it, that the mullahs are the harshest sometimes against homosexuals, but ironically they seem to have a very, especially I'm talking about in that part of the world, a very kind of a bisexual past, one may say. But yeah, so that's the thing, isn't it? That's, in psychology you see that quite a bit. I mean, Edgar Hoover and these people who were known homophobes, yet hidden closet kind of. Yeah, so people, let's move on to this. All right, let me share this with you folks. I came across this on social media. This, as you can see here, was a picture being circulated that, mashallah, this was the sewing machine of Hazrat Aisha ki silai machine Mubaraka. Subhanallah kahiye, ke, what is it? Subhanallah kehkar aage share karen. Jazakallah. So say Subhanallah and share this ahead. This was the beloved sewing machine of Aisha radiallahu an. Now, this is the exact kind of, nonsense that we find going on. Because so many Muslims will now see this and think, well, they will see this and think, oh, subhanallah, subhanallah. I mean, just use your common sense for a moment. Acha, cha, cha, cha. Just look at that screw that you can see in it. The actual, just that screw in the center. I mean, looking at that screw, who do you think made that screw? Your dad. I mean, 1400 years ago, was your dad sitting there making screws and screwdrivers? But I mean, seriously, this is the kind of stuff that you will get. I mean, you will get this. So, whereas really, this is, look, it's taken from this website, stock photos, and it even had the logo of that website in the background. If people just did a tiny bit of research, and, when was the first sewing machine even made? But the problem is that people get so, oh, mashallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. Sayyida Aisha, Hazrat Aisha's sewing machine right here, subhanallah. Let's hang it on the wall, the picture of it. It's like a cha-cha-cha. It's like somebody sending a photo around of a charger. They go, mashallah, this was such and such Sahabi's charger that we found. Subhanallah. Acha. And your dad forgot to make the socket in the wall. It's like this is the dumb level of things being transmitted. So this is why we're struggling. लोग लोगों का खून पीते हैं, मैं तो फिर भी शराब पीता हूँ. फिर Mufti साहब, why is it haram if I'm not harming anyone? Wah. Kya baat hai, kya baat. I'll come to your point. So this, first of all, we need to grow out of all of this, because this is that same logic, which is, mashallah, if God doesn't exist, then who took this picture? This is that, sewing machine. Sewing machine. So people, we have to mature. And, speaking of immaturity, there is this problem calamity that I'd like to speak about. This that you can see is Muhammad Khalid Khan, a young person from Peshawar, who, I don't know if you're familiar with what's happened. Here he is. This person was involved in murdering somebody by the name of Tahir Ahmed Nasim. Now, this Tahir Ahmed Nasim was he was a Qadiani. He was somebody who belonged to the Qadiani denomination, and he was an elderly man. I don't know how old, but I'm assuming at least in his mid 50s, late 50s, maybe 60s. I'm not quite sure, but he looks quite elderly. And in all honesty, he's somebody who appears to have mental health issues. Yeah. And he's on YouTube, and what he's doing is he is discussing on YouTube if I bring this is him on the right hand side, and some Maulana is speaking to him. So he's wearing the cap on the right hand side. So some Maulana brings him on and then has this lengthy interview, which is available on YouTube. So he's saying Allah has chosen him. So Allah has made him the Messiah. So he says the hadith mentioned that there will be a Messiah at the end of time. And this interview, it's not that lengthy, but it's there. It's a kind of like a. So he says Allah explains that I'm his spiritual son. So speaking about Ghulam Ahmad. इसी तरह अल्लाह ताला ने मुझ पर भी जाहिर किया है कि मैं भी ज़िल्ली बरोज़ी नबी हूँ. So he's a kind of like a shadow prophet of. अच्छा जी. लो जी अब आप ज़िम्मेदार इस बंदे ने अपना एक दावा कर दिया है नबूवत का. So this Maulana is kind of clearly interviewing him and getting this out there. He's saying, well, he's made this clear. There's no room for interpretation. As you can see, he is not only a Qadiani, clearly is an individual who claims to be the Messiah. And he himself is openly doing this on some live interview on YouTube. Now, he was then arrested on blasphemy charges. Whilst he was waiting in the courtroom, along comes an individual by the name of Khalid Khan. Some say Muhammad Khalid, some say Khalid Khan. Now he comes along, there he is, and he shoots him in the courtroom, like in the waiting area. And apparently the judge was there, everybody's there. There is a video. I didn't want to share that video on here. It is on social media. I've seen it. But it's where this Tahir Ahmed is in the background, just on the bench, dead. He's been shot in the head or something. He's just lying on the bench, or he's kind of crouched over. And he's sitting there, this couple of coppers, couple of police officers, other people still doing their regular work, and everybody just seems so kind of casual. And here you can see him smiling. You can see how people have been kind of very, you can see here on social media saying, look, Ghazi Khalid, they're calling him somebody, a military, an Islamic kind of mujahid, a warrior. Look how he's going to court today, smiling. Subhanallah. This is the kind of, this is the attitude. So you can see this was him in that video where he's explaining. And when they ask him, how did you get the gun? He says, well, the Prophet brought me the gun. He says, the Prophet brought me the gun. So they say, well, how did the Prophet get you the gun? And he says, well, that's what he did. He brought me the gun. Now, here he is smiling once again. And there's Qazi's comment, Imam Qazi, saying, look, he's actually condemning the Mufti who shared this, saying, Subhanallah, look, this is a true lover of the Prophet. And Imam Qazi, who's from the Midlands area as well, and a relative, he's critiquing that on Facebook. He's got his comment at the bottom saying, look, what kind of nonsense is this? And, this is the problem. That, you see, this person, like you can see his interview, he's in that room, informal kind of interview. The police have got him there, and they're asking him, look, what happened? And he's saying, well, look, he's a gustakh, he's a blasphemer, he blasphemed against the Prophet. And the police officer is saying to him, oh, did he say that? And he's like, yeah, he said that. And the guy's like, oh. And even the police officer says, basically, you dealt well with him. And this is the problem. Now, unlike some of the previous cases where the person hasn't even said anything about being a prophet, they just kind of like falsely accuse them and then kill them. In this particular case, this person, Tahir Ahmad Naseem, he did make all these claims. He clearly was suffering from mental health issues. Now, you see, I feel in this situation, the authorities need to be held accountable. That how can it be that something like this circulates on local social media? The authorities ought to know. This was in Peshawar, for God's sake. Pakhtunkhwa. This is where the whole, the Pakhtun kind of tradition, and where everybody, in Pakistan people own guns anyway, but this is that very, kind of like the Taliban rule. And this guy's going to get executed. How can you not know that? I refuse to accept that they couldn't see that was going to happen. That was unmissable. Like, it's a given that this person has come on social media. Some Maulana has kind of made him openly confess. He's openly confessed. This guy's going to get executed now. Somebody out there is going to take a gun, which everybody's got tons of them over there. They're just going to go and shoot him. Now, how, honestly, this is such a shame. Now, this is the problem. And then, then you see these other interviews like that guy who's going to say, look, this is my deen at the end of the day. I'm defending the honor of my Prophet. How can you, how can you and if you're going to chastise me. I'm happy. I gladly will take it. And the public, they will no way, this person will never get any kind of incredible, like he definitely won't get capital punishment in Pakistan for this. But I feel they might lock him up due to pressure and then later on release him. But the problem is there's a helplessness in even facing this situation. That what do you do? Like, so much needs to be unlearned and so much needs to be then replaced as education. I don't know if you guys, because it's like everything is so messed up. The Maulanas, the narrative, the social narrative. Because even in that courtroom, which I couldn't show the clip there because of the dead body in the background, and it's just not going to be appropriate. But even how casual everybody is in that room. Like you got some of the admin clerks that are just there still, just kind of like oh yeah, and and there's just a dead person over there on that seat, just kind of like this, and they're just like, oh yeah, just getting this piece of paper, and yeah, okay, yeah, and everybody's and the police officers are like, oh, did he say? Oh, he said it. Oh, oh, that's good. Oh, right, that makes sense then. And then the other people are, yeah, he insulted the Prophet. And, and this is another thing. To be clear, he didn't insult the Prophet. The person. Now, you could say that, look, he has made himself a claim to prophethood, which he clearly was making, a claim to prophethood. But he wasn't saying, like, swearing at the Prophet. He was trying to say he's a follow-on prophet. He's like a shadow prophet. Now, obviously, as Muslims generally, we don't accept these beliefs, but it doesn't mean if somebody says that they are automatically insulting the Prophet. Like sure, you might say, look, their beliefs are twisted. But firstly, I want to say two things here. One thing is that, look, okay, why are you so insecure? If a person came to me today and said, I'm God, I'm also, God has made me into another, like a second God. I mean, like, okay, now I might take the mick out of him or her. I might crack a few jokes, but what would I get? Oh my God, insecure. Oh my God, this is now going to challenge my belief in God. If a person came today and said, I realized that God has chosen me to be another prophet. Like, why are we getting so rattled? Is our iman that weak? That when we hear somebody say, oh, he's a Qadiani, or he's a this, or he's a that, oh my God. I mean, Islam has stood the test of time. Why are you so scared? And people say, yeah, well, they use the, this is another problem with a lot of our histories. This is the huge problem with the Maghazi culture. Our history full of battles, and this, when they sat down, this is what Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal said, that it's all nonsense. When they asked Imam Ahmad, he said, La asla laha. He said, Thalathun la asla laha, al-Maghazi. All these battles and everything, a lot of it is just hearsay. It's like maybe there's some fundamental kind of truth, but it's fictionalized, it's dramatized kind of like oral narratives. But people say, oh, but Musaylama al-Kadhab, they killed him. Look, Musaylama al-Kadhab was there in the lifetime of the Prophet. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Was he not? Was Musaylama not? Did he not come up to the Prophet and have a conversation with him? He did. Did he not even say to the Prophet, you know what, I'll become a Muslim, but you follow me, and try to negotiate with the Prophet? He did. Did the Prophet say, execute him? No. There was never a ruling to execute Musaylama of Yamama. Never. He was not a threat as far as Iman was concerned. He was not Muslims weren't insecure of him. Yes, in Abu Bakr's time, to do with controlling the state, it was political. It was to do with, it was a make or break situation with the tribes some were giving some allegiance, not complete allegiance. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anh took an iron fist approach. That look, he felt radiallahu anh that we are at a crossroad. It is make or break. So I don't want 99% subservience or subordination. I want 100% subordination. And he did. He went with an iron fist. I accept that. And even, even people like Umar ibn al-Khattab and other people felt a bit, Umar is portrayed as a very fierce kind of personality within the Sunni tradition. Yet, even he was like, to Abu Bakr that, whoa, I don't know, you're really going in here. And Abu Bakr is transmitted, said to him, what's wrong with you? No, we need, Jabbarun fil Jahiliyyah, and, Jabanun fil Islam, you become a coward all of a sudden, weren't you, somebody that used to be of, such courageous proportions. So the point was, this was a political decision that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu made. It was not to do with, he did not just target Musaylama. He didn't say, okay, guys, we're going to go for Musaylama because he claims to be a prophet. He went for the whole of Arabia. Anybody who refused zakat. Because the state needed funding, one. Two, he felt that, you see, if you submit to the zakat system, because for the zakat, you have to send a sa'i, you send someone that comes and he can just walk, you lose a right to privacy of assets, because that person can come in and assess your assets. You get no say in stopping that. So it was the ultimate subordination. This is why the Arabs, they resisted. They didn't have a problem with Islam, but they had a problem with that level of subordination. Because even in the Prophet's time, you have to remember, the Prophet did not compel everybody to give zakat. And this zakat thing only began a few years before the Prophet, a few months before the Prophet passed away. Amul Wufud, the tribes came. And we're not sure, first of all, not all the tribes came, only a certain amount. And we're not sure how many of them gave what, and whether it was out of compulsion or a goodwill gesture, because they came as a delegation. But we know within a few months the Prophet passes away, and then Abu Bakr takes this stance. Now, fair enough, it was his choice, and it worked. Radiallahu an, may Allah be pleased with him, but it worked. It was a very iron fist approach, and it was a very kind of like almost not like, one would assume it was not like the character of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, who's generally quite mellow, but he took this approach. But it was nothing to do with Musaylama. Musaylama was just saying to people as well in Yamama and around him that you don't need to pay zakat. Follow me, I don't even ask you for zakat. So this is what it was. To use this, the reason some people are using this to justify this Khalid going and killing, saying that, well, Musaylama, that is utter BS. Utter. The Prophet never, he was alive, he met Musaylama. In fact, the Prophet laughed at his suggestion. That, people, is how you handle such claims. You smile at, it doesn't make you insecure. That is how the Prophet ﷺ responded to him when he made an offer to the Prophet. He just smiled at him like, are you, this is amusing at best. But yeah, so this is my first huge point. And as a little second point, an adage to that, I would say, look, what about this person saying the Prophet gave me a gun? Is that not blasphemy? But nobody will see the blasphemy in that. He will be hailed a hero of Islam. So this is why, but I don't know, countries like, there's just so much, it's like one of those memes where they say, they show you a picture and they say, well, there's just so much wrong in this picture, I don't know where to even begin. And it's like that, there's just so much wrong there. Like, I don't know, where would a person begin with the mullahs, with the narratives, with the social narratives, with the awam who glorify this, with the with how do you deal with insecurities? How do you? I wouldn't even know where to begin, honestly, with certain parts of the world. I just hope that their impact is really, an absolute minimum to this part of the world and Muslims in the West. And even Muslims over there, I hope they can see through this kind of BS. But I felt that was so important to really highlight. But yeah. Right, I'm just checking. Was there anything I didn't... Right, so... Alright. Let's take a few questions. Amina and Elias has super chatted. Shukran for your opinion on prophets being depicted in movies. Right, now... You see, hmm, you see, from an Islamic perspective, from a rulings perspective, drawing the Prophet and things like this, there's nothing to actually say that that is actually forbidden. But from a clear perspective in the Quran, contrary to what people think that it's actually so clear, it isn't. But it's just that because the initial movement of Islam was against statues, and drawings weren't really a big culture amongst Arabs, early Arabs. It wasn't, they were there, so inside the Kaaba they did have paintings, and they had a painting most likely of Jesus and Mary, but the paintings weren't a big thing. So there wasn't this culture. Now, Muslims generally feel, as a belief value, that we should not depict the Prophet, we should not describe the Prophet in a way that is unbefitting, or ascribe, or like so for example, if a person just says something rude about the Prophet, so to Muslims, to us, the Prophet ﷺ is of a highest maqam, and we don't speak like about him in that way. Now, from there comes this understanding that, okay, if people were to draw him, how would you draw him? Because we've never actually seen him. So whatever drawing you have, it will not be a true reflection of him. And the fact that it's not true, it then, by default, in a binary world, is then a falsehood, because it's a false depiction of him. Because it's then false, it is then ascribing a lie onto the Prophet. So this is the angle how scholars said this was haram. When they said it was from this angle, it wasn't. I mean, there was the other thing as well, that they didn't want Muslims to start worshipping. But to be honest, Muslims wouldn't start generally worshipping the Prophet. I don't think that would happen, generally speaking, anyway. But more so, it was this angle, that because if you draw the Prophet or make a picture, a statue of him, whatever you make will be a false representation of him, because you've never seen him. So in essence, you're ascribing falsehood to him, even though it's not to his teachings, but it's to him. And thereby, it's prohibited from that angle. So you need to understand where the kind of legal reasoning, the Islamic legal reasoning, is coming in. It's not coming in from, it's often presented that, oh, if you drew a picture of the Prophet, everybody will start worshipping him. And it makes Muslims sound a bit dumb. Which is not really the reason why the Muslim scholars said don't draw the picture of the Prophet. Now, similarly about acting, you see, the problem is, one, it's that because obviously it's not the Prophet, it's an actor, the representation is not a real representation. The other thing is, due to the sensitivities, how sensitive Muslims are towards the character of the Prophet ﷺ, I would say this definitely should not be done, because it will trigger a tsunami of a storm, and it would not be welcomed by any measure. And in fact, it would cause such an adverse reaction. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody acted as a Prophet and then somebody like this Khalid Khan or whoever we spoke of goes and kills him. So I would definitely say that preemptively these things should never be done. Never ever. But I've given you the fiqhi, the kind of ulama reasoning behind it, but I'm now giving you my common sense perspective. Never should this be done, that somebody should depict, or should they, as Muslims, if non-Muslims do it, that's like if they drew the Prophet, there's, obviously it's not the Prophet, we don't need to get all about it, but as Muslims we shouldn't, and as Muslims we definitely shouldn't kind of enact him like that in a movie, that is. Mufti, what are your thoughts on Mufti Adam al-Kosary from Leicester? All right, Mufti Adam al-Kosary. This is Ibn Adam, I take it, the young Ibn Adam. Right, you see, I've never met Ibn Adam. Mufti Ibn Adam. At one point, I think he was quite active on social media. I don't know if he still is. I just haven't seen him recently on any of the social media things. So maybe he is still active, and my algorithms now just don't pick him up. But yeah, you see the problem. I feel that maybe people like Mufti Ibn Adam can see sense in a lot of things, but they're too. They lack the courage to speak out, or they kind of lack the voice. They won't, like, I don't feel people like Mufti Ibn Adam or any of these muftis would ever be able to speak out on any issue and challenge the, like, let's say the Deobandi background. They would never be able to do it. They're way too buried in. So therefore, it's a kind of dead end for places like the younger generation of the UK or the West. These people are a kind of, unfortunately, although I do feel Mufti Ibn Adam, I remember a few years back I read a few of his things, and I felt that, whoa, he seems to be somebody who is enlightened maybe within, although he's not letting it out because he's worried about a backlash. And I'd love to connect with him, but you see, this is the thing. Like, I think he would be too scared to connect with somebody like me just because of the backlash he would get from his own community. And Leicester is a very kind of hardcore Deobandi, kind of like a village. It's not a village, it's a city, but it's, for the Muslims there, it's like a village mentality. They are like still in, I don't know, 1850. The mutiny of 1857 hasn't quite happened yet against the British Raj. So yeah. Alright, so what is going on? Mariam Moat. Hi, Mariam Moat. Isn't Mariam Moat always usually presents these kind of like Salafi answers? Like I get the feeling like this is like a hater that I don't know if you are. You might actually be a supporter. So, but that's the vibe I always get, Mariam Moat. But you do definitely always tune in. So I have to kind of, dedication. I like it. This one I like it. So Mariam Moat, just your surname is a bit freaky. But where's that question gone? Right. So I don't know why they named you Death. They go, hi, yaar. Let's give her an optimistic name. Death. So, right. So, where did the question go? Right. Please, Mufti. Malikis have rejected hadith that contradict Medinan Amal for the very same reason that Shafi'is have. What hadith are these that they've rejected? Sorry, they've rejected hadith that contradict Amal. Oh, yes, of course. The Shafi'is have rejected Medinan Amal, favor of sound hadith. Shafi'is distrust of Malik. चलो यार खुल के बात करते हैं. अच्छा, since let me roll the sleeves up, huh? All right, people. Let's have a few words on this. Yeah. This whole hadith project of Shafi'i and this whole ilk. You see, the truth is, let's be honest, yeah. Nobody speaks about, they speak about the chain, they don't speak about the elephants in the chain. Oh, wow. I have to get my... I'm going to speak about the elephant in the chain. Because first of all, let me tell you, I feel that, look, what's happened, those of you that don't know, this great hadith project that took place by the hadith project, just to be clear about what I mean, is the kind of the sovereignizing of the isnad. Okay, this project, the sovereignization of the Isnad, that takes place with and is voiced by Imam Shafi'i. I don't know whether he came up with it, but he's definitely one of the voice pieces for this thing. It is really to say that let's objectify the Isnad. It's like a scientific approach to the Isnad. So we will now, and I'm going to give you the backdrop to where this is coming from. What they are saying in essence is that when Imam Malik, you see, the Hadith project had already begun. So the Hadith project begins really, earlier on in the 1st century, some people are quoting Hadith, but really it begins with people like the Tabi'een, Ibn Sirin, then it starts to get compiled, Ibn Shihab Zuhri, Abu Bakr ibn Hazm, those people of Medina, under Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, which is at the turn of the century, 100 Hijri, 90 years after the Prophet. But Isnad is not being documented yet, although some people may be speaking it. Within the next maybe 10 years, it starts to get documented. Isnad as well, chains. So, Hadith exists at this stage. The Isnad exists. And so in the time of Imam Malik, so Imam Malik is writing his Muwatta. Let's say it's, for argument's sake, let's say it's 150 Hijri. So it's gone into the Abbasid era, post 130 Hijri. Isnad exists, that's the chain. I'm learning from such and such who told me such and such. Malik has the chain, other people have chains. Abu Hanifa has a chain. Now, the issue is the chain in this stage is still subservient to the living tradition. So the Isnad exists, but we have more trust in the inherited living tradition of Islam. So Malik, he lives in Medina. The Prophet lived in Medina. 10,000 companions were buried in Medina. They taught their students who taught their students who taught Malik. He witnessed this. This is why Malik said that, look, the Isnad is there, but Malik would often say this. This was his principle, the golden principle of the Medinan school, that this chain, this one-on-one, will snatch the deen from in front of you. Inna al-wahida an wahid sayanzi'u ad-din min bayni yadayk. It will snatch the deen from in front of you. He said, alfun an alf. We go with this mass transmission of the living tradition of Islam in Medina. Now, that we call the Sunnah. So, Imam Malik had Isnad. It's not like Isnad didn't exist. It's in his Muwatta. In fact, he has the golden chain of Isnad. Nobody can trump his chain called Silsila Dhahabiyya. Malik from Nafi, from Ibn Umar. Yet he brings it in the Muwatta and at times rejects it. Says, yeah, but this hadith, don't know what it's on about. So, what happens is Malik has Medina. Abu Hanifa has Kufa. Okay, not as glamorous as Medina. Medina, but he has a tradition, Abu Hanifa. He has Kufa, he has his teachers, Hamad, he has Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, Alqama, he has all these people going back to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and other companions of Iraq. Ibn Shubruma has Iraq, Awza'i has Sham, you have Ibn Abi Layla in Iraq, a lot of Sufyan al-Thawri in Iraq. You've got these traditions are going on like a living tradition. Shafi'i is a young boy here. He doesn't count. He's just a little baby, little kid at this stage. He comes to Malik, studies a bit with him, then leaves. He's still very young. As he matures and moves to Iraq, the problem is he originally affiliates with Malik and that heritage of Medina, which is cool. But when he moves from Iraq to Egypt, he realizes all these people in Egypt are all students of Malik. And they've studied with him decades. I don't even count here. I just studied with Malik. I was like a little kid when I was with Malik. These people were old. Ibn Wahab was 30 years with Imam Malik. Ibn al-Qasim, 20 years. Ashhab, 20 years. Ibn Abdul Hakam, 20 years. You're not going to compete with a couple of years. So he loses value. Now, in Egypt, he doesn't have even though there were some companions, but you can't have this living tradition because he wasn't from Egypt. So this new generation that were emerging didn't have those same claims to tradition, because they couldn't say, like with Malik, he would say, this is Malik telling a hadith. He would say, حدثني من أثق في دينه. It was narrated to me by somebody whose deen I trust. Full stop. Khalas. I trust him. Now it stops with, because Malik has said it, we have that loyalty, we have that trust. Now Shafi'i, one, he couldn't really say, well, Malik, because here these people are like, you don't even know Imam Malik. And two, he couldn't claim any regional affiliation, because he wasn't this region, and people were becoming more and more cosmopolitan. They were moving around. So they didn't have these regions to claim this kind of identity to, this belonging. See, belonging is a fundamental aspect of human identity. Who do we belong to? So what happens here is these people in that time, it's around this time, and with Shafi'i, and remember Malik has now passed away. So we're going towards the kind of 180 Hijri, 190 Hijri, that kind of time. They come up with this, isnad. What we're going to do is we're going to objectify the chain. Sorry, Malik, when you say somebody whom I trust, who does that mean? Who is this, who are these people? It's not good enough. We demand disclosure. We must know the name. You may be a great person, but we want to make this objective. The new sense of allegiance is to the chain. Our loyalty now does not lie with Medina or with Kufa or with Basra or with, a certain Mecca. It now lies with the Isnad. This was the great Isnad project that was backed by people like, voiced by people like Shafi'i and others. Now, this takes off, and then you have the huge second wave muhaddithin, Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, into the 200 Hijri. And you see, what they don't tell you though, and this is where I'm going to speak about the elephant in the room, or the elephant in the chain, which nobody is speaking about. यार इतना बड़ा हाथी बैठा हुआ है यहाँ पे. They're like al-fil mal-fil. You see, when you go to the second wave muhaddithin, like Ibn Hanbal, Ibn Ma'in, this is, remember, going from like 230 Hijri onwards, this kind of era. You've got Ali ibn al-Madini, Tirmidhi, Abu Zur'a, Abu Hatim. You've got all the, going right on, right through the 200s into the 300s, Ibn Hibban. You've got all of these great muhaddithin who are now the scholars of Jarh wa Ta'dil, telling you this chain is fine because such and such is vouched for, he's a thiqa. You got Ibn Hibban with his book of thiqat, who mashallah, jo bhi aaye usko dalta jata hai. Whoever comes, he's giving him a free pass. Aap hi aa jao, acha aap hi aa jao. It's like everybody's in his goddamn thiqat, right? So you've got this going on, yeah. Now, you see, the elephant in the chains here is, in their books of when they tell you which chain is, the narrators are fine. When Yahya ibn Ma'in or Ahmad ibn Hanbal or Ibn Abi Hatim or all these people are transmitting that such and such narrator is fine, Hisham is fine, they're going to say this is how A'mash was, this is how Qatada was, this is how such and such a Rawi, and these are very popular ones, but even not so popular ones. This is how Ibn Abi Layla was. This is how all these people were. They are commenting on them, on their memories. This is how Abu Hanifa was. This is how such and such a person was. Here the question is, how do you know? Because you're not telling us how you acquired that information. Because remember, these people in that 200 onwards never met any of those people. And they, for the most part, never met anybody that actually met them. So, like Hisham, who dies in 146 Hijri, these people in like 230, 240, haven't met him. They've never met anybody that's met him. So the question is, when they say he is reliable, when they say about anybody, Ikramah, why is Ikramah reliable? Oh, Ikramah is reliable. Okay. They are basing this information on somebody having told them. Must have. Their teachers, who maybe their teachers told them. So they're basing this on somebody's information. But they're not disclosing who gave them that information. So we can't assess it. You see, all they've done is taken the trust from Malik, who told you beware of these one-in-one chains. And when Malik says, oh, I transmit, in somebody doesn't name him, but he says who I trust his deen and knowledge. They say, na, we want the full name. And because Malik isn't giving it, we've taken that trust, but this blind trust, and they've just put the blind trust in this chain. Because when they declare these ruwat, these narrators to be thiqah, they don't tell you how they came to know that they are trustworthy. Because an incredible amount of them have long been dead in a century before them. So they're not disclosing to you, oh, by the way, these are the names of these people who met them, who assessed them, and this is how they did it, and this is how... And even then there's a trust element. So this is the elephant in the chains. So this hadith, great isnad project, they did a wonderful... I'm going to commend their job, the project. They pulled off an amazing stunt. I mean, the Isnad project is an amazing accomplishment. I'm not going to deny that it's profoundly executed with a lot of incredible, amount of hard work that's gone into it. And for the most part, it does look like it's something, wow, untouchable. But when, upon closer inspection, one will realize that there's so many gaps in the chain. This is the god of the isnad. They say the god of the gaps. This is that gap in the isnad, which that they're not speaking about. Nobody's speaking about this gap. And so in essence it's very similar, except they've just they've packaged it so much better. It's like when Apple will package something, it just looks so amazing. They send you something and it's £1,000, but because of the box and the way the box fits, you go, mazak, £1,000 well spent. And you might spend £80 on something else and it comes in and you're like, who even wants this, huh? Who even wants that? But this is they packaged it. They've done like an Apple job packaging of the Isnad project. But the elephants are right there in the chain, people. Right there. Hati mera sati. So, people, that brings us on to... somebody asked a question on thoughts on Anjem Chowdhury and Hassan Khattani. Yeah, I mean, you see, the problem with Anjem Chowdhury is very clear, obviously. He's clear extremist. People like that, having the platform they've had is just suspect. And Hassan Khattani, I've spoken about him in the past that, look, I've actually visited him once many years ago, but at that time I didn't know. I mean, I knew who he was, like I'd heard of him, but I did not know that he was involved in the Casablanca bombings and things like that. I had no idea. I'd just seen some social media stuff and I was like, oh, wow, he speaks English and, he's a young imam and he's like this. And so I went and I was like very, it's like, if you're not familiar with, he's in Morocco, I'm not familiar with like the Moroccan politics and things like this. And so if you go to a different country, you're not necessarily privy to that. So I did at one point praise him, but I retracted all of that many years ago when I came across all these things about his past. And I realized I was really kind of shocked. And then it made sense, really, that, because I used to think the more I got to know him, because for a while I was on, he had this kind of WhatsApp group and he added me to it. And so for a while I was on that group. So this is going, I think, the years 2016 or something. And then I think in 2017 I left it or something. But for that year, when I was on this group, I realized he used to have a very hardline approach, very kind of like an extremist sympathizing approach, openly, like you wouldn't care, like in the group. And I used to think as well, this is a bit weird. But when I came across, why is he so sympathetic to Hizb ut-Tahrir and all these kind of people who support military coups d'etats and Islamic takeovers? And then I read something and I came across some link, and then I followed that link and I Googled, and it's all there on Google. He was given a very harsh sentence of 20 years, I think, as a terrorist. He is a convicted terrorist. So, and he spent, I think, 7 years, but then got a royal pardon. But he never got he wasn't exonerated. He just got a pardon for the rest of his sentence. And, yeah, so once I came across, so I was very clear that, look, I do not encourage or support or praise him or commend him. And anything I'd said in the past, I said that was just unknowing, like I had no idea who he is. But yeah, so, but I don't think he will, you see, I know he teaches on social media, but I don't think he will openly now maybe teach these things until he's, maybe, when he gets a bit comfortable with then he'll be like, cha, let me put a bit more masala in there. Yeah, these kafirs should take over any. But you should beware of these kind of things. That's my approach, that any extremist sympathizers, definitely these people are poison. But yeah, right, and by the way, that's not his other brother. He has a brother, Hamza Khattani, who used to have a Maliki WhatsApp group and with international people on. He's very Sufic and very kind of mellow and very, very different personality. But yep, let's move on. But I don't have much left. These super chats have still not had a response. Mufti Saab, शराब. Yeah, I mean, अब क्या कहें शराब के बारे में. वहाँ पिए तो हलाल है, यहाँ पिए तो हराम है. This is what do you want me to say? I mean, the thing is that, look, it has its ruling. There was a disagreement on what was meant by that, and the Hanafi disagreement on alcohol has always been there. That they've said, well, so most beers by Hanafi understanding are not actually considered khamr of the Quran. So they say the khamr of the Quran is restricted just to wine, and that to a particular, out from dates and grapes. That's it. If I recall correctly, it's just them two, and everything else. So, anything made from honey or malt or wheat or these kind of things, any kind of intoxicating drinks may be haram, but they're not by default haram according to the Hanafi madhab. So yeah, and they did get a lot of bashing for that from the early scholars, but that was their kind of approach. So they felt that anything like that, if it's drunk in average quantity and it doesn't intoxicate you, then it's not haram, and hence the nabith. But then, you see, because this tradition has died off, so we don't know exactly how intoxicating their drinks were in that time. That's another question. But I assume that with these kind of beers and stuff that are only like, or these alcohols that are only like 3% alcoholic and stuff, 4%, I think that the Hanafis, by their classical understanding, wouldn't consider that haram, even though the today Hanafis would. But today's Hanafis are not really Hanafi in as the early Hanafi. Today they're just like crypto Salafi Hanafi. They're like weird, like they're going through like a schizophrenia. So they don't really have, they're not true to Abu Hanifa. They're more just like a Salafi version of Hanafis today. For the most part, not all, but many, like the Deobandi school, for example, isn't really a reflection of Imam Abu Hanifa at all. It's just a Salafized, it's a reaction to Salafi Islam with the veneer of Hanafi fiqh. And that's all it is. Yep. So, cool. All right, people, you know what? We've got to start wrapping this up. Right. So, people, let's, this brings us to our beloved people, we've got here, so those of you that don't know, our beloved, who is Baba Fariduddin Ganguteli. Those of you that don't know Ganguteli, our own Ganguteli, you still don't remember him, क्या करते हो यार? This, let me present you. This is our Ganguteli, our own beloved. Oh, Ganguteli. Oh, wow. Gio. Ganguteli. So, people, God, you don't know what's been going down. Oh my God, people. Oh my God. So this whole debacle, this whole fiasco, this tsunamic, cataclysmic event of the Qira'at and our beloved Yasir Qadi Sahib
with a small d.
the D Sahib. Oh, this D began by somebody giving the D to this whole cataclysm. And that began because there's so many D's in this with Dawa Man. So Dawa Man is a D, and there you've got this D. So this question is, what is Kolaveri D? You know. So the question was, Dawa Man got hold of Yasir Qadi. We've got to go back in time. Let's zoom back out, people. Time travel, going back a bunch of years, 2016. Dawa Man gets hold of Yasir Qadi's emails, private email. And Dawa Man leaks it. The whole world is... Which, fast forwarding, but we're going to go back there. Keep one foot there. We're going to stretch the other foot back. Recently, where our beloved Yasir Qadi Saab made the Tum hi aana, the hame poocho, the sad kind of moment where he tried to have his epiphany and explain those emails and then dug himself a deeper hole. But this goes back to that point, the leaked emails. Yasir Qadi Saab felt, I was on a group called, they had on a group called KR, Knowledge Revival. You guys invited me to Knowledge Revival. I came to Knowledge Revival and...
फंसा दिया ना तूने मुझे तूने बहका दिया ना तेरे कहने में मैं आ गया बड़ी मुसीबत की घड़ी है अपने मामला खुद देखो दूसरे को इल्जाम ना दो.
So Pasadena, they called him to Knowledge Revival, and what they did was let me just take this. What they did was they were preparing the D. Dawa Man was giving the D. But the question was that between the D and the D, there's a link. But who's this missing D? Who's the missing link? So who leaked the emails? बड़ी बहुत ही भयानक घड़ी है ये. यार फंसा दिया ना. Who was leaking the emails? Years passed by. Nobody's so sure who leaked the email. Allah, Allah, Allah. It appears, people. It's none other. In the background. Wow. It's Gangutili. Gangutili was... That's him sharing the email.
Dajjal with a small d.
This is with a small d,
Or
this
we can
one.
say mini Dajjal.
Who's giving
no
it to
problem.
the other capital D,
But there
Dawa
is
man.
one Dajjal with a big D, okay?
It transpires, people, that behind all these D's was Gangu Delhi. With the big G. This one. So it now appears, you see, oh no, all right. No, that's wrong one there. Right, we've got his, let me just bring up his emails. So it's been recently, Sheikh Ismail Patel, he revealed,
How many brothers
if
do you
I
have?
can,
Two wives? Raise your hand if you have more than one wife. Any
so we've got this,
brothers have more than one wife?
no,
The whole
if I
masjid, not
can-
one brother. Wallahi, that's sad. Sad.
what's going on there?
Wallahu alam.
So let me, can you see these? This right here is the transcript to the emails, people, that you can see that are on Ismail Patel's Facebook page, where he's showing the emails between him. He's finally only revealed them this week, where he's speaking back and forth to Ganguteli, and he's kind of apologizing, but at the same time saying, I was in touch with a really big, this is another one where he's saying, I was in touch with this academic, one of UK's finest academics. And guess who this academic is, people? Because at this stage, you're probably thinking, who is this academic? The academic that he's speaking about is Abdurrahman Hassan. Abdurrahman Hassan was this great academic. So he was sharing them with him. As you can see, here is part of an email that once again, I do apologize to you for the mess. Farid Al-Khaja. Oh, this one. What? This one? Farid's full name, Ganguteli, full name Al-Khaja. What? This one, huh? Huh? Khaja Sara? Khaja Sara in Urdu is... I couldn't help it, people. I couldn't help it. I had to do this, okay? But this... Khaja ji, I didn't realize he was Khaja. Khaja. Allah, 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 Allah. So Khaja ji, so right here, anyway, coming back to these emails, you've got, it was leaked. You've got Khaja does, bring it back in here. He owns up. This did make me think, actually, was that what the TS stood for in his TS? Naughty. Naughty. So all this fitna, all this drama, come on, like, think about it. We're thinking, Yasir Qadhi has really dug such a deep hole that a portion of the ummah has drowned. We hear reports people have apostatized, they've had doubts in Islam, they've done all of this. who was behind this? I would never have thought it was our very own Khaja Gangu Teli. Oh my God! Honestly, I am lost for words. I'm at a loss for words here. This whole fitna was created by this Wahhabi, this Wahhabi Khaja Gangu Teli. What the hell was he trying to do? He was trying to save the ummah by exposing emails to Dawaman, because Dawaman's friend is one of the best academics in the UK. It's like, mate, do you understand the definition of academic? Calling Abdurrahman Hassan, who I'm sure is very intelligent, he may be very clever, being very clever in what you do, learning certain things, Salafi books and doing these things, does not make you an academic. That's like calling Mullah Umar the greatest hippie. There's just no link. I mean, this is, it's like, or calling Donald Trump the greatest feminist. I mean, this just does not, it does not add up. So, yeah, so I was like, whoa, oh my God. I was like, so yeah, I had to do some of those dumke to just think, to get over this, man. I just couldn't. I felt like this is, look. Kaha Raja Boj, kahan Gangu Teli. This is the thing. This is the thing, people. Well, I had to share that with you guys. Farid leaks. And indeed, not only does, if only for this leak, they had created a nappy that could have prevented. Obviously, look at it. This leak from Gangu Teli was enough to drown Yasir Qadi. And with Yasir Qadi trying to somehow paddle through the situation, he managed to drown a bunch of other people with him as well, because of his magnificent explanation, which was so terrific. So this is like, wow. Oh man, this is just, I did not see this coming. So I had to share that with you guys. I felt, whoa, that is something. Guys, let's wrap this up. We've been going on. Oh my God, it's coming nearing. There was a little something. I'll share this with you very quickly. I don't know if you've seen this. Come on. This was to do with Maulana Tariq Jamil Saab. I'll give you a little extended on the masala. But I thought this isn't. I think, look, Maulana Tariq Jamil is genuinely a nice guy. He has in the past preached some weird stuff, and I don't support that. But I do think he's one of the few scholars who's tried to go cross-sectarian and unite, spoken for unity. But there was this. So they got a video of him shaking hands with a girl. And then they've put his speech speaking about morality. People are proper haramis though, innit? You naughty. You teasing me, you naughty.
हंसा दिया ना तूने मुझे तूने बहका दिया ना तेरे कहने में मैं आ गया इस वक्त बड़ी मुसीबत की घड़ी है अपने मामला खुद देखो दूसरे को इल्जाम ना दो.
But I honestly feel that, look, it's not fair. Maulana Tariq Jamil Saab is I do like him. And, I don't feel it's haram to shake hands with women anyway. I've got a detailed video explaining that. But this is how people are. They're waiting for that one moment. This one, not nice. Like, yaar, koi scandal ho jaye, yaar, scandal. As they're always waiting. And I suppose, with Tariq Jamil Saab, they've now seen somebody got a clip of him shaking hands with a woman, with a girl. And they're like, oh my God. Phasa diya. And Tariq Jamil Saab's thinking, phasa diya na mujhe. You invite me here and sting up. This one, not nice, So people, with that, let's wrap it up, you guys. It's been awesome. As always, if you haven't already subscribed to my channels, people, then what on earth are you doing? Seriously, what on earth? What the hell's going on here? What have I got?
अपनी जो है ना वो दावत जात की तरतीब बताएं, आप क्या है, आप के साथ क्या होता है और आपकी नौयत क्या है.
There you go. Anyway, so there you go, people. My Patreon. Those of you that want to jump on there. Got a bunch of tiers. It's really gonna come to full life this month. Other than that, my other, where's it gone? Yeah. Remember to like, subscribe, click the notification bells, do all of that stuff, yeah. And if you don't, then just remember, I'm gonna have to send. Spread the love, yeah. Spread the love. See, be happy and jolly as this fellow brother over there. So look at the happiness. He's that eager that, wow, it was Monday nights with Mufti. That's after he's subscribed, that's the feeling that you have to have. And of course, much love to our Gangu Teli Saab. Yaar, bahut bada harami nikla tu yaar. We were thinking you small D, but this one big D, you know. This one giving D to whole ummah. These are the kind of people that sincerely do it, that they, mashallah, you know, before they give the whole D to the whole ummah, they do wudu. Sincerity, you know. Guys, as always, been absolutely awesome. Take very good care of yourselves. Much love. Mwah. Gio, sab khush raho yaar. You know, remember, oh, I never got to speak about that. The series I want to speak about, the Netflix series. Next week we'll speak about that. Watch out, there should be some mind traps. I will do a meetup, Mufti's meetup this week. So watch out for that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe tomorrow night, or nah, tomorrow's going to be too soon, I guess. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday I'll do it on YouTube, whatever, where I'll take callers. They can take calls coming in. Till then, take very good care of yourselves. Wassalamullahi alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, people. Over and out. Assalamu alaikum.